So it's the 1980s, and a little girl is camping with her family in the forest. While passing by the river, she hears a girl singing. This girl, who noticed the little one staring curiously, calls her over. Her name was Rose, and she began showing the little girl some magic tricks. Just then, out of nowhere, several people appeared in the forest, all staring at the little girl in a strange way. The little girl got scared, but Rose reassured her, saying, "Don't worry, they're all my friends to prevent the little girl from running away." Rose held her hand. Then, the group approached and killed the little girl. At that moment, Rose's eyes gleamed, and we learned the truth. Rose and her friends were vampires from a satanic cult. They didn't eat children or drink their blood, but instead they sought children with a special ability known as shine in this movie. Shine refers to a God-gifted magical power. After killing these gifted children, a steam-like essence would emerge from their bodies, which the vampires consumed to live for thousands of years. Now the scene cuts, and we're shown the Overlook Hotel, where a boy named Danny is riding his bicycle. This boy, Danny, later sees the ghost of an old woman in the hotel's bathroom. He was utterly terrified. After returning home, Danny stopped speaking altogether. This went on for several days, causing his mother great worry. One day, a soul from the Overlook came to meet Danny. Danny could see this soul because he, too, had the shiny, magical powers. The soul explained that when he was a child, he had shine as well, but it was much weaker than Danny's. That's why, when he entered the Overlook Hotel, nothing happened to him. But when Danny entered, all the souls in the hotel awakened because they were hungry for shine now. They're after Danny, wanting to consume his shine. This soul came to tell Danny something important. He gave Danny a box and said, "Look, this is a magic trick my grandmother taught me. With this, you can trap all the souls chasing you in this box." Danny asked, "How can so many souls fit in this box to this?" The soul replied, "This box isn't real. You'll create it in your mind, and inside, you can trap all the souls." Taking the soul's advice, Danny went to his house's bathroom, where he began seeing the old woman's ghost again. There, he created the box in his mind. As he created the box in his mind, Danny trapped the soul, and afterward, he felt much more relaxed. His mother was happy to see him feeling better. The scene then cuts to 31 years later. Danny is now grown, and his mother has passed away. His life is a complete mess. He has become an alcoholic. In one of his drunken episodes, he ends up in a fight with a man. A girl, impressed by him, takes him back to her house. The next morning, when Danny wakes up with her, he realizes his wallet is empty, so he steals money from her wallet instead. At that moment, the soul with him warned him that this was wrong, but Danny didn't listen. The scene shifts to a theater where we meet a girl named Andy, who also has the shine with her powers. She can hypnotize anyone. Inside the theater, she hypnotizes several people, knocking them unconscious, and then steals their wallets. While doing this, Rose notices her and thinks it would be a good idea to recruit Andy into her cult, which would make it easier for them to trap children. Rose eventually meets Andy and invites her to join their cult, but Andy is hesitant. Why would she join them and help trap children? That's when Rose explains, "We're vampires, and we survive by consuming the steam from children with shine. We don't live for just a few years, we live for thousands of years." Intrigued by this, Andy agrees to join them. That evening, the vampires perform a ritual to officially induct Andy into their cult. The process causes Andy extreme pain, but afterward, they offer her the steam of the same child they killed at the beginning of the movie. This marks Andy's final transformation into a vampire who feeds on shine. The scene cuts to a little girl named Abra. It's her birthday, and many guests have come to celebrate. Her dad even hired a magician to entertain the guests. After being impressed by the magician's tricks, Abra later shows her parents a magic trick of her own. Using her mind, she levitates all the spoons in the house to the ceiling and then drops them down. Her parents are terrified by what she's done. At the same time, both Danny and Rose sense Abra's power from afar, feeling her presence as if she were right next to them. Danny had sensed the presence of someone with shine. He wanted to improve his life, so he moved to another city where he met a man named Billy, who helped him find a house and a job. Danny also wanted to quit alcohol, so he joined a rehabilitation center. One night, as he was about to sleep, the ghosts of a woman and her child appeared before him, leaving him horrified. He had just been with this woman the previous night. She told him that she died from a drug overdose and her child starved to death. No one had discovered their bodies yet, and they were still lying in her bed. Danny was shocked by this revelation. The trauma made him want to drink again, but he resisted. The next day, we see Danny at the rehabilitation center, where he also got a job. This center housed people who were near death due to illness. There, Danny met an old man who was on the brink of death but was scared to die. Danny used his shine to show the man happy memories from his life, making his passing easier. Thanks to using his shine, Abra was able to find Danny. She discovered that there was a man in another town with the shine. Using her magical powers, Abra contacted Danny by writing hello on the wall of his room. Danny realized that the message came from a girl with shine, and they began communicating. Abra was thrilled to learn that she wasn't the only one in the world with shine. There were others like her. The story then jumps ahead 8 years. By now, Danny has completely given up alcohol and helps people by easing their deaths, showing them their best memories in their final moments. This earned him the nickname Dr. Sleep in Town. We also see that Abra and Danny still talk to each other thanks to their shine, though they've never met in person. The scene then cuts to Rose and her cult group. They were starving because they hadn't found any children with shine in a long time. Rose learns that one of their cult members, who had lived for nearly 1,000 years, was now. One of Rose's cult members was on the verge of death from starvation due to a lack of shine. To save him, Rose opened her thermos, which contained a stored amount of shine, and used it to restore his life. Just then, one of Rose's followers discovered another child with shine. With the help of Andy, they hypnotized the child and kidnapped him. They took him to a nearby park, tied him to the ground, and Rose began torturing him. As the child's shine was being released, the cult members attacked it, consuming every bit of it. Abra, who was far away, sensed the child's agony, torture, and death, and she screamed in horror. She was deeply traumatized by this event. Abra used her shine to write on Danny's wall, informing him that a murder had taken place. After consuming the child's steam, the vampires buried his body. Rose then informed her entire cult that someone had sensed them. Someone knew what they had done. She also revealed that the person who sensed them had shine that was 1,000 times stronger than any ordinary person. Rose believed that if they could capture and kill this person, they could live off that shine for 10 years without having to kill anyone else. Abra, now curious about who had murdered the child, began researching missing children online. She found information about several murdered children and, using her powers, delved into the memories of the child who had just been killed. She saw everything that had happened to him, including his murderers. Abra now knew about the vampire cult. While investigating further, Abra accidentally entered Rose's mind. Rose, who was at a grocery store at the time, immediately sensed Abra's presence. She moved closer to a mirror to catch a glimpse of Abra. Just as Rose was about to take control of Abra severed the connection. The sudden disconnection left Rose disoriented, and she stumbled backward, stunned. Rose rushed back to her cult members and warned them that the girl was far more powerful than they had anticipated. Abra had entered Rose's mind and escaped without being harmed. Now, Abra was determined to investigate the child's murder further, and she knew Danny was the only one who could help her. The next day, instead of going to school, Abra went to meet Danny. Danny was happy to see her and explained that what she thought was magic was actually called shine. Abra then told Danny about the vampire cult that had murdered the child. Abra wanted Danny's help in. Danny and Abra planned to dig up the child's dead body and expose the vampire cult for their crimes. However, Danny doesn't want to get involved in all this. He advises Abra to stop using her shine as well, warning her that the cult could sense her and kill her too. Their meeting ends, but later that night, the familiar spirit that had been visiting Danny appears again. The spirit tells Danny he must help Abra or the cult will find and kill her. As for the spirit, it says it is leaving the world of the living for good and will no longer visit Danny. This makes Danny sad, but he finally decides to help Abra. The scene cuts to Rose, the vampire leader, separating her soul from her body and soaring through the sky to sense Abra's shine power. She infiltrates Abra's home and enters her memories, trying to take control of her and kill her. But Abra had anticipated Rose's arrival and set a trap. As soon as Rose enters Abra's mind, Abra grabs Rose's hand, causing her immense pain. Rose, unable to do anything, retreats immediately. When Rose returns to her cult, she discovers that another of their members, an old man, is dying because they have no shine left. Andy asks what is happening, reminding Rose that she said they wouldn't die. Rose explains that it wasn't true. The more steam they consume, the longer they live. But without it, they are just as mortal as anyone else. As they discuss this, The cult witnesses their grandpa figure dying, and they devour the steam released from his body. One of Rose's followers tells her they are going to find Abra, but she cannot come along because Abra can now control her mind and learn their plans. Meanwhile, Abra uses her shine to contact Danny, telling him she was able to control Rose's mind and learned that the cult is coming for her. Upon hearing this, Danny immediately decides to go help Abra. Danny, now on his way with his friend, is suddenly joined by Abra, who separates her soul from her body and enters their car. Abra tells Danny she has learned a new trick that allows her to enter anyone's mind and control it. As she says this, Abra enters Rose's mind and finds herself surrounded by many boxes and the eerie Overlook Hotel. Soon Danny, Abra, and Danny's friend reach the spot where the vampire group had buried the child's body. At first, Danny's friend was unsure about their mission, but after seeing the child's body unearthed, he started believing in Danny's powers. This mission was too big for Abra to handle without informing her parents, so the next morning, she takes Danny and his friend to her house. Abra uses her shine to control her father's mind and shows him the entire story of the child's murder and the vampire cult. Abra's father was shocked, but he advised them that since the cult had been alive for so long, they probably had a way to avoid police intervention. He suggested that it was better for them to deal with the vampires themselves. Abra then uses her powers to locate the cult, learning that they were already on their way to capture her. Danny quickly comes up with a plan to deceive the vampires. They lead the cult into the woods, where Abra uses her shine to lure them. The entire cult arrives, sensing Abra's power, and they find her sitting calmly. Andi, one of the cult members, uses her hypnotic abilities to make Abra relax, and then moves in to inject her with a sedative. However, it turns out she didn't inject Abra but a decoy, a small teddy bear Abra had enchanted to look like her. The whole scenario was a magical illusion created by Abra. In reality, she wasn't in the woods at all, but safe at home. Meanwhile, at Abra's house, another vampire had figured out her trap and went to capture her directly. Back in the woods, Danny, Abra's father, and Danny's friend begin shooting at the vampires one by one, starting an intense firefight. Most of the vampires were being killed, but soon Danny's friend and Abra's father ran out of ammunition. Only Danny had bullets left, and the only vampire still alive was Andy. As Danny raises his gun to shoot Andy, she hypnotizes him, putting him to sleep. Before she can finish him off, Abra, using her powers, Abra wakes Danny up. He wasn't fully awake yet when suddenly they heard a gunshot. Andy had been shot. It was Danny's friend who fired the shot. But before dying, in her rage, Andy used her powers to hypnotize Danny's friend, commanding him to shoot himself. Under her spell, he followed her command and tragically shot himself, dying on the spot. The scene shifts to Abra's house, where one of the vampires has already kidnapped her. Despite her father's attempts to stop the abduction, it was futile. When Abra regained consciousness, she found herself tied to a car seat, drugged with an overdose that left her too weak to use her powers. When Danny learned about Abra's kidnapping, he was devastated. In his despair, he was tempted to drink alcohol after many years of sobriety, but managed to resist. Instead, he used his shine to locate Abra, entering her body through his shine. Danny took control of the driver's mind, causing the car to crash. The driver was thrown from the vehicle and died on impact, with almost all the vampires now dead, except for Rose, who hadn't participated in this mission. The focus shifted to her. Rose, determined to become more powerful, consumed all the steam she had stored in her thermos. She decided to seek revenge on Abra and Danny. Danny warned Abra that Rose had become immensely powerful and wouldn't stop until she killed both of them. But he had a plan. He decided to take her to a place that was extremely dangerous for people with the shine, the Overlook Hotel. Danny believed that if it was dangerous for them, it would be even more deadly for vampires. When they reached the hotel, Danny went to the boiler room to turn it on. Then, he headed to a room where a ghost offered him alcohol, knowing he was once an alcoholic, just like his father. Danny could have fallen into the same trap as his father, selling his soul for a drink, but he resisted, controlling his emotions and avoiding the ghost's tricks. Soon after, Danny and Abra sensed that Rose had arrived at the hotel, tracking them down. As she entered, she was greeted by a flood of blood pouring from the elevator. Undeterred, Rose moved forward, and eventually, she encountered Danny and Abra. Together, Danny and Abra launched an attack on Rose with their shine powers. The force of their combined assault pulled Rose into a strange, puzzle-like world where Abra kept appearing and attacking her repeatedly. This time, however, Rose was ready. When Abra came in for another attack, Rose grabbed her, prepared to finish her off, but then realized that this wasn't Abra's mind, this was Danny's. He was trying to trap her inside one of the boxes in his mind. Realizing the danger, Rose quickly escaped Danny's mind and returned to reality. Now standing face to face with both Danny and Abra. Seeing Rose, Abra ran away, leaving Danny to confront her. Rose offered Danny a chance to join her cult, but when he refused and attempted to attack her, Rose swiftly disarmed him, taking his axe and using it to strike him. The blow caused Danny immense pain, and she threw him down the stairs, further injuring him. His shine started to leak out, and Rose eagerly absorbed it into herself. Determined to finish him off, Rose entered Danny's mind once again, but this time Danny opened all the boxes in his mind, the ones where he had trapped the souls of the Overlook Hotel. These souls, hungry and vengeful, were finally unleashed like ravenous lions. They pounced on Rose, tearing her apart and consuming her. However, the release of these souls had a consequence. They also possessed Danny, now under their control. Danny turned on Abra, grabbing his axe and chasing after her with the intent to kill. As Abra fled, she too saw the haunting souls of the hotel, and soon Danny appeared before her, trying to fight off their possession. With great effort, Danny regained control of himself, breaking free from the soul's grip. He told Abra, "Go. I've already turned on the boiler room. This hotel is going to blow up at any moment. You need to get out of here. These souls will be destroyed in his final moments." Danny saw the soul of his mother, who brought him peace as he accepted his fate. Outside, Abra watched as the entire hotel was engulfed in flames, burning to the ground. But as much as the hotel burned, what pained her more was losing Danny. Abra was deeply saddened by Danny's death, but the scene shifts to a time several days later. We see Danny's soul visiting Abra, just as a good soul had once come to visit Danny. It's revealed that the souls from the Overlook Hotel are now after Abra, so Danny has taught her the same magic that the good soul once taught him, the magic to trap these souls in boxes. While Abra is talking to someone, her mom senses something and comes over, asking, "Who are you talking to?" Abra, without lying, replies, "I'm talking to Uncle Danny's soul." "Mom, did you know there is an afterlife? Uncle Danny is doing just fine there. And so is Dad." Hearing this, her mom feels a sense of comfort. Abra then goes to the bathroom to trap the old soul that Danny had originally locked away in the box at the start of the movie. And with that, the story comes to an end.